Stephen, when you take on a massively famous and popular book like Wonder, what's going through your mind in terms of trying to make everybody happy with that?
Well, I think that the good news is for me is that I love the book Wonder so much that I was one of those fans that I wanted to preserve what I love so much about it and how sophisticated the storytelling was, even though it was aimed at maybe a younger reader with all the different points of view. So I don't know. I think I just let my love of the book guide me in every decision, whether it was the writing, the adapting, the casting, time on set or post, everything.
What's the first step when you say, okay, I am doing this, and you're about to sit down in front of the computer and start adapting? How do you know how to massage that and figure out what to leave in, what not to put in, all of those those ideas?
Well, I think luckily I had some practice. When I adapted my own book as a movie, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, having that entire experience of looking at not just the writing, but with the shooting and the editing and knowing what you keep, what you leave out, it's a feel thing, right? And I was very proud of the fact that I think Perks had 22, 23 minutes of deleted scenes and Wonder had 4, and so I was getting closer to like understanding how to turn the soup back into bouillon. In terms of your direct question, what makes you think what to keep, what to leave out? It's really a feel thing. To me, I knew that the book was beloved, as we've talked about, and I knew as a fellow author, having written a novel myself, that all the really smart things that R.J. Palacio, the novelist, had done. But let's say you have, I don't know, 3 chapters to introduce a character. Well, you don't have that much time when you're writing a screenplay. So it was a combination of, all right, how do I distill this character into the absolute essence? How do I give them something that could be relatable to the audience or universal in their own experiences, to create a shorthand? And then finally, how do I find the actor that really embodies the spirit of this character? Because sometimes when you make it something literal like a movie versus something more subjective like a book, you have to just find that picture that's worth 1,000 words. So that was my approach, and I think because I also have written novels, it's a very organic approach to me.
It looked to me as I watched it, not beyond your main cast members, as you reached out to people, it looked like you were just able to talk several people into doing little cameos, little short roles, probably because of their love for the book, or maybe their family's love for the book.
No, it's because of my genius, actually. No, yes, it was for the love of the book. And what was great, look, when you have like an international icon like Sonia Braga fly halfway across the world to do one scene as the grandmother, and you have something really incredibly special. And we all fell into line. Cast and crew, we had some incredibly. Don Burgess shot the movie. He's so brilliant, and Mark Lavolsi cut it. And we had so many great people working with us because we all knew that this was a special book, and we all knew, based on what's happened with it, that this book has changed a lot of hearts and minds, and was going to continue to do so. And so nothing made us happier than to lend our talents to spreading this story as far as and wide as we could.
Julia Roberts does not make a lot of movies, not like when she was in her 20s and early 30s. How do you talk her into this one?
Well, again, her love of the book started it. She called her agent after reading the book out loud to her own kids for their bedtime book, called her agent and said, look, if they ever do this, if they ever get this off the ground, please tell them I'm interested in playing Isabel. And luckily, Julia, her love of the book, and she knew David Hoberman, our wonderful producer, because they did Pretty Woman together back at the beginning of her career. And so those two things made it very easy for me to talk her into it. It was, we had one lunch, and I told her some of the things I wanted to give to the character of Isabel, some of the things inspired by watching my wife return to the workplace after having kids, it was very personal to me, her character, because I'd seen my own wife struggle to kind of reclaim herself after the kids didn't need her as much. And she said yes, and it was a real blessing because as I've said a few times, watching Julia Roberts act is like watching Michael Phelps swim. It's like certain people are just so extraordinary at what they do that you kind of sit back and watch in awe.
Well, she is an all-timer. She's one of the greatest actresses we've ever had. Now that you
Yes.
work with her and seen her up close, what is it about her? Why is she so good?
Well, a lot of it is a magic trick to me because here I'll say the first day of shooting, right? So we do the first day of shooting is Julia and Owen they're walking Augie to they're walking Jacob Tremblay to school for the first time. Okay, so this is his first day of school, and we did it one way, two ways. We kept working on it, and finally, I knew I had the footage. I knew it was right, and I said, Julia, I have this crazy idea. Why don't you try it one time for laughs, where you're crying the entire walk, and everyone's trying to comfort you because you're so emotional. I said, it's a crazy idea. I don't know if it'll work, and she said, sure. She was game, and when I saw her turn this very, very kind of like tense, anxious, very universal moment into high comedy, and she sobbed on a dime, and it was unbelievable. She can just do it. If you have an idea and you say, hey, why don't you try like this? Done. It's almost like she had prepared that way for a month, and she can do anything. And as any director will tell you, yes, you're always proud of the performance that is on the screen in the final film. But it's all like the little short ends and the other takes that you didn't use that really show you what an actor can truly do. And oh my Lord, there's nothing that she can't do. I will say though, the one bummer thing was when I asked her to do the crying moment, some paparazzi cameraman caught it from like a really long lens, and then it ended up on the cover of some tabloid about how she had a nervous breakdown or something. I felt really bad. I was like, no, I just told her to try, and she did. So.
She's actually acting, which is her
She's
job.
actually acting, which is her job, indeed.
So much of the movie rides on the personality and charisma of Jacob. Now that you worked with him, tell us about that experience.
Well, Jacob Tremblay, like Julia Roberts, is a once-in-a-generation talent. And watching his approach, how thoughtful he was about it, how he would go into the makeup trailer as Jacob, funny and goofy and whimsical, and just he's a really smart, very ordinary kid from Langley, right out of Vancouver, Canada. And then the process of sitting in the chair, getting the makeup put on, sometimes it was 2.5 hours. And the patience, and what was so cool and inspiring about watching Jacob work was he would use that time to, I think, in a lot of ways, feel what Augie must have felt going through all the surgeries and recovering. There's something about the patience that both Jacob in the chair and Augie in real life had to endure that, I don't know, it really created something magical. And also the fact that he reached out to children with Treacher Collins. He visited children's hospitals and other organizations. He had a binder of letters that he would read to kind of get into the mindset and to know what it's like to be stared at and everything else. I was very inspired by how thoughtful he was, how prepared he was, and how truly professional. He's the real deal, that kid. I really couldn't believe I got to work with him, and he was only 9 years old. It's unbelievable.
Well, really, the chemistry with all the kids, all throughout, whether they're getting along or not getting along, just their on-screen chemistry is fun to watch.
Yeah, well, it was fun to cast, and what was great about the approach was, my only rule was we had one read-through. That was it. That was the rehearsal. One read-through, and I said at the end of the read-through, look, guys, just know your lines. That's all I ask. If you know your lines, the rest will be fun. And that's exactly what it was, because I wanted to create an atmosphere with the kids where they knew that they couldn't fail. I wanted their natural behavior, and I just wanted them to know that this was going to be fun, like summer camp. And it was really gratifying to watch them become great friends, and their parents as well. Because as anybody knows who's ever worked with child actors, the parents are such a part of the community, and we got a lot of great families, and I was very grateful for that.
What's the process like to get approval to have a Star Wars character in your movie?
Well, you should really ask David Hoberman, but if you don't, I will say in our case, we were really lucky. David Hoberman has such a long relationship with Disney, and he's such a great producer. And he called Kathleen Kennedy and said, I have a really special one. Would you consider it? And she's like, sure, send the script, send the book. And I think it was a combination of David's relationship with Disney and Kathy, and how special this book and this movie was going to be that got us the rights, which was, I mean, what a blessing. I'll tell you this, you can ask, it's true with Jacob Tremblay, it's true with all of us. Chewbacca Day, that was the day. I mean, I still can't believe that there was a day that I said, and cut. Mr. Chewbacca, sir, could you please, maybe this time we'll do a fist bump. And that was a very surreal experience as a true blue movie buff. It was, I mean, come on. I got to direct Chewbacca. It was unbelievable.
This might lead to a Star Wars film for you down the road.
You know what? From your mouth, sir. I would happily take time away from my latest novel to do anything Star Wars.
This week, big nomination with the Critics' Choice nominating you for adapted screenplay. What, in general, not just for this movie, because you've had other awards over your careers, the Spirit Award for Perks, you won that one. What does these award cycles, awards recognition, whether they're nominations or wins, what does that mean to a film in terms of recognition and so forth?
I say specifically for Wonder, it means the world to me. And in this case, I had two great partners in Jack Thorne and Steve Conrad, and so it's really fun to share it. With Perks, I was the whole kit and caboodle, and with this one, I have R.J. Palacio, the novelist, so it's really fun to be with other writers, which is a blast. I'd say for Wonder, going back to your question about what does it mean, the ultimate goal with this movie for me was loving the book, knowing that the book is taught in a lot of elementary and middle schools, and wanting to be a fierce advocate for the book. What all these accolades mean for me is it just adds a legitimacy to the book and to the story, which ultimately I'm hoping with every little victory we might have or every nomination or whatever, that the word of it as children's literature gets out there. It's not a kiddie film, it's not a kiddie book. No, this is children's literature. And that's how I view it. And all I'm hoping is as we move forward, the more classrooms that will embrace this book and teach this book will lead to like a better world as far as I'm concerned. So to me, look, it's lovely personally. I'm in movies and it's very flattering and lovely. But there's a much larger thing at work as far as I'm concerned, which is just get Wonder in every 5th grade class. My goal is for Wonder to be to 5th grade the way that The Great Gatsby or To Kill a Mockingbird would be to 9th.
The reactions critically as well as box office have been massive too. Is that something you like to follow? Are you constantly wondering about how that's going on?
Of course, it's a blast. Are you kidding? It's like for me, especially coming more from the independent film world, and to be working with a bigger budget and bigger stars and all, it's just been fantastic to just just to follow it and also, but again, there's the personal ambition part of it, I guess, but in a much larger sense, because I designed the movie and I wanted the movie to be for the whole family, it is incredibly gratifying to learn over and over and over again that it actually is, and that conversations are being had between parent and child, or parent, child, and grandparent, because that's what I wanted it to be. So to me, box office is nice and people talk about numbers and they talk about money, but the way I look at it is it's not so much about money, it's about how many people does that represent. If you make $100 million and by average, are you talking about 15 million, 20 million people have seen your movie or whatever it's going to be, or even 10 million people, because a lot of matinees, it's the greatest. It's the greatest feeling in the world. So at the end of the day, if you're trying to make something to bring people together and spark conversations, then the more the merrier.
And if this takes you to the Oscars?
I would not complain. You know what I mean? To me, again, at the end of the day, whatever legitimizes this book and whatever spreads the word about this beautiful book, I am all for. And all of us, and I can speak for Julia, I can speak for Jacob, I can speak for everybody involved in the movie, this is the special one for us. That book, and serving that book, has made me a better person. It's made us all better people, better artists, in my case, a better husband, a better father. So yeah, to me, it's all part of that mission. So it would be lovely.
Take us back. We're an awards website, so we always like to ask these kind of questions. The night you won at the Spirit Awards, maybe it was in the afternoon, I guess,
yes,
to be more technical, for Perks, Take us back to that experience and that particular award
yeah,
show.
Yeah, I have to say, that was surreal. It was surreal because I had no idea how big that award show is. I think there were 6,000 people there. Whatever the tent was, because they did it, I think it was in Santa Monica. It was so massive, I couldn't believe it. And so just going up there, and also my producers, because I won, Best First Feature, and your producers are supposed to go up with you, but I guess Leanne and Russ decided, nah, we'll just sit. I think they'd won before, so they just stayed at their table. So I suddenly walk up and I'm like, where are my producers
You're
go?
abandoned.
And I'm like, here I am. I guess I'm giving the speech alone. Okay. And there was so many, it was a really cool year, and David O. Russell was there, and Jennifer Lawrence was there, and so many amazing people. And I definitely was I was more than a little bit intimidated, and the whole thing went by in a flash. But it was really cool. I have to say that was a very, very proud day for me.
Well, good luck going forward on all these events coming up, but also congratulations on the success of the movie that the public really wants to see this.
Oh, I really appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.